Salam and peace be upon you. My name is Muhammad Laiq Siddiqui, the father of the Holophase. Episode 12, Part 1. The first difference. The starting point we've never examined. Before there was a universe, before stars, before atoms, before space and time as we know them, there was one thing. Not a thing like a particle or a force, something more fundamental. The possibility that one state could be different from another. That's it. This isn't poetry. This isn't philosophy. This is the operational starting point of everything we call real. Everything science studies, everything we experience, everything that exists in any measurable sense, emerges from this single, humble beginning, the capacity for distinction. But to understand why this matters, why civilization needs to start here, we must first understand what's quietly crumbling in our current understanding. The structure we inherited. Picture modern science as an intricate, sprawling city. Different districts, different architectures, different walls. In one district, let's call it Newtonville, reality behaves like clockwork. Planets orbit predictably. Apples fall at known rates. Cause always precedes effect. Everything is solid, deterministic, local. Engineers live here. They build bridges, cars, airplanes with perfect confidence. Travel to another district, Quantum Town. Here, nothing is certain. Particles exist in multiple places at once until you look at them. Probability replaces certainty. Observation creates reality. Mathematicians and quantum programmers work here, making astonishingly accurate predictions while disagreeing about what's actually happening. There's also relativity heights, where space and time bend like fabric, where gravity isn't a force but geometry, where black holes swallow light and time slows at high speeds. And Cosmology Coast, where galaxies spin in invisible halos, where dark energy pushes space apart, where the entire universe began in cosmic fire. Each district works brilliantly. The predictions match observations, the technologies function. But here's the problem. You can't freely travel between districts without changing your understanding of reality itself. The rules change. The fundamental what is real changes. The very meaning of existence shifts. The three fractures. 1. The circular foundation. Every origin story in modern cosmology follows the same pattern. Assume space-time exists. Assume quantum fields exist. Assume certain symmetries and laws. From these assumptions, the universe emerges. Now ask, where did space-time come from? It was there from the beginning. Why these particular fields and symmetries? Because that's what we observe. This isn't explanation. This is inheritance. We inherit our starting points, then explore their consequences. We never truly explain why these particular starting points exist. It's like finding a completed novel and saying, from the alphabet and grammar rules, the story emerges. True, but who created the alphabet? Why these grammatical rules? 2. The scale schism. In Quantum Town, reality is fuzzy, interconnected, observer-dependent. In Newtonville, reality is solid, local, observer-independent. We treat these as different realities, rather than different views of the same reality. We speak of the quantum realm as if it's a separate place with different rules. But they're supposed to be the same universe. Shouldn't the same fundamental rules apply everywhere? just viewed at different scales? A student once asked me, "So which version is actually real?" I had to answer, "According to current science, it depends on what you're looking at." That answer should unsettle us deeply. 3. The meaning vacuum. Gather the world's top physicists. Ask, what does quantum mechanics actually mean? What's really happening? You'll get multiple incompatible answers. Many parallel universes, collapsing wave functions, hidden variables. Just mathematics, don't ask. All fit the same equations. All make identical predictions. All are mathematically equivalent. But they describe radically different realities. This isn't healthy scientific debate. This is foundational confusion. Our most accurate theory of reality cannot tell us what reality fundamentally is. Why this isn't academic? You might think, so what? The math works, technology advances. Look at what we're doing with this fragmented understanding. Engineering planetary climate with partial understanding of complex systems. Editing genetic code while debating what life fundamentally is. Creating artificial intelligence without consensus on consciousness. Developing quantum technologies nobody agrees on the meaning of. 5. Making civilization-scale decisions with kindergarten understanding. We're wielding godlike power with childlike comprehension. Imagine a surgical team performing brain surgery while arguing about whether the patient is biological, digital, or holographic. They agree on where to cut, but not on what they're cutting. That's our civilization's relationship with reality. The White Room Thought Experiment. Close your eyes. Imagine a room where everything is identical. Walls, floor, ceiling, air, light, all exactly the same. No variations, no contrasts, just uniform sameness in every direction. Now, is there a chair in this room with you? Think carefully. Even if you're sitting on it, how would you know? If it's identical to everything else in every measurable way, same color, same texture, same effect on light and sound, does it exist? The startling answer, you cannot know. In a world without difference, existence becomes meaningless. Not nothing exists, but something more profound. Existence requires distinction. This isn't philosophy, it's operational reality. If something makes no measurable difference, cannot be distinguished from anything else in any way, it might as well not be there for scientific purposes. The one fact that survives stripping everything away. Let's perform a radical exercise. Strip away everything. No particles, no forces, no space-time, no energy, no laws, no observers, no mathematics, no language. What remains? Not nothing, something more fundamental. The possibility that things can differ. Before there can be light, there must be the possibility of light and dark. Before there can be sound, there must be the possibility of sound and silence. Before there can be matter, there must be the possibility of something and something else. This possibility, this capacity for distinction, is our true starting point. We give it a name. Phi. What phi is not. Our minds want to make phi familiar. We must resist. Phi is not a particle. Particles come later. Phi is not a field in spacetime. Spacetime emerges from phi. Phi is not energy. Energy is a counting of phi activity. Phi is not consciousness. Consciousness may process phi patterns. Phi is not mystical. It's the logical possibility of distinction. Think of phi like the concept of number before any particular numbers exist. The possibility that 1 could be different from 2 is more fundamental than the numbers themselves. Why starting here is revolutionary. Most science begins with complex things. Here are particles, here are forces. Now let's study their behavior. Holophase asks, what justifies starting with those things? Where do particles come from? What is a force, really? Why does space-time exist? Standard answer, because that's how the universe works. But that's not explanation, it's description. Holophase takes a different path. Start with what we actually know we can do, not with what we wish were true, not with elegant mathematics. What do we actually know we can do? We can notice differences. That's our foundation. Everything else must be built from this. From possibility to actuality. Imagine complete darkness. Not just dark, featureless blackness in every direction. Now strike a match. That tiny flame represents the transition from possibility to actuality. Not the burning material, not the heat, not the light, just the fact that now there's light where before there wasn't. From that single distinction, we can build others. The flame is brighter here than there. It's warmer near it than far. It flickers now, but was steady then. Each new distinction builds upon previous ones, creating webs of difference that eventually become everything we recognize. The cyclic nature. Here's something beautiful. Phi is cyclic. Think of a clock. After 12 comes 1 again. The hours wrap around. Phi naturally wraps like this. Why does it matter? Because cycles create return. If you walk around a circle, you come back to where you started. That coming back creates stability. It creates patterns that repeat, rhythms, things that can be counted. This emerges naturally from the mathematics of distinction. When differences can be compared to differences, circular relationships appear. Think of conversation. I say something different from what you said. You respond differently. The conversation can loop back. That looping creates structure, memory, meaning. The cyclic nature of phi is the seed of all structure. If phi, the possibility of difference, is truly fundamental, every phenomenon in the universe must reduce to patterns of difference. Every particle collision, every star burning, every thought, every galaxy, all must be expressible as patterns of this differs from that. This isn't poetry, it's testable. If we ever find something that cannot be reduced to differences, something absolutely there without distinguishing features, phi fails. The falsification test. How do we test this? Find one thing that exists scientifically but makes no difference. Breakdown. 1. Exists scientifically. Appears in equations, experiments, observations, technology built from it. 2. Makes no difference. Cannot be distinguished through any measurement. Doesn't affect anything. Indistinguishable from nothing. If such a thing exists, phi fails. But think, how would we know it exists? If it makes no difference, how could we detect it, measure it, even talk about it meaningfully? This tests the nature of scientific knowledge itself. Science knows things through their effects, through how they differ. Examining objections. But things have intrinsic properties. Do they? Or do we know properties through differences? Red differs from blue. Hard differs from soft. We never experience redness itself, only redness as different from other colors. What about absolute zero? Even absolute zero is defined differentially. Temperature where molecular motion differs from all higher temperatures by reaching its minimum. We know about it because systems behave differently there. This sounds like idealism. Not at all. Differences exist whether noticed or not. A tree falling in an empty forest creates air pressure differences. Phi patterns exist independently. But to become knowledge, they must be noticed through some comparing mechanism. Why start so abstract? Why not start with matter? Because matter is already complex. What is matter? Quantum fields, particles. Where do those come from? Starting with phi builds matter from simpler ingredients. Reality is relational. If everything reduces to differences, then reality is fundamentally relational. Nothing exists in isolation. Things exist only in relation. An electron exists as differences from surroundings. A thought exists as differences from other mental states. A galaxy exists as differences from surrounding space. This turns usual thinking upside down. We think the chair exists. In phi framework, the chair exists as stable difference patterns our senses recognize. The chair isn't chair stuff. It's particular phi arrangements that persist coherently to be labeled chair. The ethical implication. If existence requires distinction, then to exist is to be different. Diversity isn't just nice, it's fundamental. Uniformity is death. If everything were identical, nothing would exist meaningfully. This applies to ecosystems. Biodiversity makes them more than uniform sludge. Cultures. Cultural diversity makes humanity adaptive. Ideas. Intellectual diversity drives progress. The drive toward uniformity in nature, society, thought isn't just boring, it's anti-existence. It pushes toward the white room where nothing can be known because nothing differs. Practical daily test. Try this. For 1 hour, notice only differences. Not things, but differences between things. Don't think red apple. Think this apple differs from that one in color. Don't think I'm happy. Think my state differs from earlier in these ways. Don't think loud music. Think this sound pressure differs from silence by this amount. You'll notice all experience is differential. We don't experience absolutes. We experience relations. The room isn't warm. It's warmer than outside. Light isn't bright. It's brighter than shadow. Even emotions are differential. We're not happy. We're happier than before, or less happy than hoped. This trains difference thinking. It reveals phi as the fabric of experience. Historical context. This idea has echoes. Heraclitus, 500 BCE. Everything flows. Change is fundamental. Leibniz, 1700s. Reality is monads perceiving differences. Information theory. Information is differences that matter. Quantum mechanics. States are relational. Buddhism. Dependent origination. Things exist in relation. What's new in Holophase? Making difference the exclusive foundation, building everything with mathematical rigor and operational discipline. Previous approaches mix difference with other concepts. Holophase purifies. Only difference, only comparison, only what can be licensed through clear protocols. The mental shift. Adopting phi requires retraining perception. Most are thinkers, seeing objects, chairs, people, atoms. Phi invites difference thinkers, seeing distinctions, this, not that patterns. This isn't easy. Our brains wire for thinking. Language uses nouns. Science categorizes objects. With practice, difference thinking becomes natural. Not tree, but differences from ground. Not thought, but differences from previous states. Not atom, but stable difference patterns. Not time, but differences between before, after. Not space, but differences between here, there. This shift changes everything. Scientific revolution potential. If phi is correct, this could be as significant as Aristotle-Newton or Newton-Einstein. Why? It changes what counts as explanation. Current science, explaining means reducing to smaller things. Matter, atoms, particles. Phi science. Explaining means showing emergence from difference patterns. Not reduction, but construction from fundamental relations. This could resolve puzzles. Quantum weirdness. Maybe superposition isn't particles in multiple states, but measurements catching difference patterns before they resolve. Consciousness. Maybe not a mysterious extra, but particular self-referential difference processing. Dark energy. Maybe not a mysterious force, but a counting feature of large-scale difference patterns. Speculative, but a new foundation opens new possibilities. Civilization implications. Think bigger than physics. Our civilization builds on scientific understanding, but that understanding is fragmented. Different theories for different scales don't connect. Brilliant technologies with deep confusion. Risks. Engineering genes without understanding life. Creating AI without understanding intelligence. Manipulating climate without understanding complex systems. Quantum tech without consensus on quantum reality. Fragmented foundation, fragmented ethics, policy, progress. Phi offers unified understanding. Not just unified physics, but unified understanding of what knowledge is, how we get it, how we keep it reliable across generations. The firewall, part 12, maintains reliability, but it starts with getting the foundation right. Phi. Personal transformation. Adopting phi isn't just intellectual, it's personal. Seeing world as difference patterns. You become more attentive, notice subtler distinctions, more humble, realize things are recognized patterns, not discovered absolutes. More connected, see how everything exists in relation. More precise, ask different how, measured how, compared to what. This is about understanding experience better, being more awake. Formal prediction and falsification. Holophase makes testable claims. Any framework that 1. Begins with assumed primitives, spacetime, particles, fields. 2. Lacks explicit comparison foundations. 3. Doesn't specify scope and falsification. Will inevitably fragment into incompatible interpretations at foundational levels. Evidence. Quantum interpretation wars, spacetime quantum incompatibility, cosmological paradoxes. Falsification condition. Holophase part 1 would be false if someone produced a foundational physical theory that 1. Begins with assumed primitives. 2. yet never generates interpretive ambiguity. 3. Never fragments across scales. 4. Never requires philosophical patching. If such exists, Holophase steps aside. The door now open. Part 1 clears ground, doesn't build yet. It's stopping to examine foundations. We find something simple. We were never standing on particles or space-time. We were standing on comparison. Accepting this opens a door. Beyond it, measurement as first-class reality. Licensed windows. Derivatives as structure. Time, space, motion as readings. Discreteness as topology. Energy as accounting. Laws as grammar. Meaning as encoders. Knowledge as immune system. But none of that is trustworthy unless this first step is clean. Before part 2, try this week. Difference journal. Each day, write 3 differences normally overlooked. Physical. Morning light, more golden than yesterday. Relational. Friend's mood, more open than usual. Conceptual. Work approach focuses on process, not outcome. Describe how different. What dimension? Compared to what? This trains difference thinking, prepares for the journey. The question to carry. We end with a question. If existence requires difference, what does that say about reality? Is the universe a symphony of distinctions, a dance of differences? What does that make us? We who notice differences create new ones, build civilizations from patterns of distinction. Perhaps we're the dance becoming aware of itself. But first, learn to see the steps clearly. Distinguish patterns. Earn understanding one difference at a time. The structure has been examined. The white room entered. The match struck. In part 2, if reality is differences, how do we measure them? What turns possibility into knowledge? We'll discover all measurement is comparison, and comparison needs rules to be reliable. For now, sit with our starting point. The universe begins with the possibility that this could be different from that. Everything follows from here. Peace be upon you.